Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode. This is Take It to the Hizzy Fantasy Football, TITTH number 13, number 13. I'm your host, Justin Bruni. Today we're going to be talking about Week 5. We're going over our Week 5 preview, who are starting, who are benching, who are putting in our flex, and touching on some over-unders, predicting a little bit of game flow. So jumping into our first matchup, we have the Cardinals traveling to the Bengals. Kyler Murray, going to go ahead and start him. Should have a productive week this week. The secondary for the Bengals has not been great. I do expect Murray to have a pretty solid performance. I'm liking 3 total TDs, 2 passing, 1 rushing. I do see a lot of passing from both sides. I think there's going to be a pretty favorable offensive tempo in this game. The Bengals have allowed 983 yards against the pass so far, 8 touchdowns allowed, so quite a bit of value there. Going to be starting David Johnson, of course, as well. He's pretty much a must start every week, especially in this offense. Should catch a lot of balls. 572 yards against the rush for the Bengals so far this year, and have allowed 5 TD scores to the running back position. So Johnson, definitely a must start this week. Starting Larry Fitzgerald, benching Andy Isabella, and Keyshawn Johnson, I think, is a sneaky flex play. So kind of breaking down the wide receivers here. You have Larry Fitzgerald that's going to get more playing time because Christian Kirk is going to be out this week. So Larry Fitzgerald is going to be playing out the slot more. Obviously, playing time overall, he's playing a lot every week, but he's going to be playing more out of the slot this week. So I think Kyler will be able to find him open down the middle of the field more frequently. I think Keyshawn Johnson and him will kind of split that space together. And, Andy Isabella will be used kind of on the outside like they mentioned. I think Fitzgerald will dip to the outside some, and Keyshawn Johnson will come to the slot as well. So that's how I kind of see it breaking down. I could see Isabella maybe, stealing a catch here or there, maybe even, one for a touchdown, but hasn't really shown us enough outside of his preseason play that would predicate the need to get him in our lineups this week. So I'm not trying to plug and play him this week. If he gives us a solid performance and Kirk is still trending in a negative direction next week, maybe we're all rushing to the waivers this week to grab him. So I like Keyshawn Johnson a little bit more. He's shown a little bit more comfort with Kyler Murray out of the gate in the regular season, had a little bit more, obviously more usage and snap count share. He's just playing more. So I want all these guys. Give me Larry Fitzgerald, Keyshawn Johnson, David Johnson, Kyler Murray from the Arizona Cardinals. From the Bengals, give me Andy Dalton. He's a must start this week. The Arizona Cardinals are allowing 1,084 yards against the quarterback position, 10 touchdowns allowed. Still no Patrick Peterson in Arizona. He's not going to be back until Week 7. Both sides are going to be throwing a lot, so I see Dalton having an upside this week, in a higher scoring matchup, in a game with a good offensive flow, for fantasy owners and fantasy players. Next up, we got Joe Mixon. Definitely going to be starting him. He's a top talent starter with a plus matchup. The Cardinals are allowing the 5th most yards against the run, but only 2 touchdowns allowed so far. I do see Joe Mixon finding pay dirt this week. Should have a respectable yard total. I think he could eclipse over 100 all-purpose yards this week, so definitely get him in your lineup. The wide receivers here, Tyler Boyd, Auden Tate, must starts in my eyes. Auden Tate, going to be filling in for John Ross. Been talking about him a lot this week. John Ross, was averaging about 8 targets, so there's some real volume available behind Boyd here, especially with AJ Green still not back, obviously. So Boyd, I'm looking to see anywhere like in the 10 to 12 target range, and Auden Tate, probably somewhere like in the 7 to 10, somewhere in that range. And I think both of them will have quality days with that volume. Starting both of those guys. I think that the tight ends here, Eifert and Uzama, I think that they could be in play. It's a pretty plus matchup up against this defense. So yeah, the options at tight end are really limited. I highly doubt that many have these guys rostered, but they are kind of a lottery ticket touchdown dependent tight ends this week. Excuse me. So if you need a flyer, if you're really hurting at the tight end position, I could see an Eifert touchdown this week, but you're not going to get much else out of that. You really have to find pay dirt for one of those guys to take advantage of their week. So I'm not really interested in them, but they are kind of a higher end touchdown dependent option at the tight end position this week, just based off of the matchup against the Cardinals. So the over-under in this game is 47.5. Give me the over. I think that each team can score 3 touchdowns. I think it just comes to last possession field goal, last possession game-winning field goal type of game. I just think that's going to be the way it is. I don't think that anyone's going to be pushing down the field for like the last possession touchdown. I think it'll be pretty close overall throughout the game. So give me 47.5. Give me the over there. I like the Bengals at home this week, getting their first win of the year. Next up, we have Falcons at the Texans. I am starting Matt Ryan this week. Poor performance last week, been pretty inconsistent. The running game hasn't been going, but people are toting this as a high tempo shootout type of game. So I want Matt Ryan in that spot. Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley are going to be looking to get right this week as well, coming off lesser performances than what they're used to. So I look for them to bounce back this week as well, and Matt Ryan should benefit from that. And I'm hoping that this offense just gets it together because they're really inconsistent thus far. They really need to develop the run and find a balance here. Matt Ryan's throwing a lot, and it's not really working out for them. Typically if you thought Matt Ryan had a lot of volume, things would be going pretty well, but been really inconsistent. Still has the big hitters there in Julio, Ridley, and Hooper. So I want all of Matt Ryan this week. I think it's a good plus matchup for him. Devontae Freeman, I'll flex. Ito Smith, I'm going to say bench. I'm going to say keep him on the bench still. They're talking again, that this is going to be a high tempo game. So I think Devontae Freeman has a little bit more value because he can come in there, mix in with some catches out of the backfield at the line of scrimmage, and maybe even take one home into the end zone. So I like him a little bit more. Houston is in the middle of the pack when it comes to stopping the run. It's 418 yards allowed through 4 games and 2 touchdowns allowed. So not great, but not terrible at the same time. I do think that there could be a rushing touchdown. I think that Ito Smith, could come in and get that 1 touch or 3 touches and, take one to the end zone. It was more of a 60-40 split, before he went out with a concussion, but he didn't get a ton of work last week. So I'm not really sure what type of workload he'll have this week, but I could see him coming in and stealing a touchdown. It's just not really a piece that I want. If you need a touchdown dependent running back, Ito Smith's a decent candidate. I wouldn't say high end or low end. He's just kind of right there in the middle. So I'm still saying bench him, but you can fire up Devontae Freeman in your flex. Hasn't been overly impressive this year. I just think that he'll have a little bit of value, being able to catch the ball this week. I don't expect much from him, out of the rushing attack. So, I could actually see you benching him if you have some better options, especially like in a 12-man league where you just have the opportunity to have like a deeper running back core or a deeper wide receiver group. You might have like a wide receiver over him that you could plug and play this week in a flex spot. So something to track there, gauge your options, but I think that he is worthy of a play this week just based on the matchup alone. But he is kind of a cringe bench guy in deeper leagues, I think. Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Austin Hooper, firing up all these guys. Mohamed Sanu, a little bit of a sneaky play. You don't want to say flex or necessarily bench, but the guy is just really consistent. He's on the field the most out of this receiving group, even with Hooper. I don't really understand it. It just seems like it's for blocking schemes and for managing the snaps for Ridley and Julio, not wearing them out too much and letting them really go off or explode off the line of scrimmage by getting them just a little bit more rest. I'm not sure. So I'd say Sanu is worthy of a flex spot in really deep formats. I said he was due for a touchdown last week, and he didn't get it. So got to be due this week, I imagine, right? I don't know. But I think that any week Sanu could pop off for a touchdown or 2. But obviously, you're always going to be starting these big guys, Julio, Ridley, and Hooper. Julio and Ridley, just the upside and the skill set is there. And it's a plus matchup against the Texans, so you have to be liking that. Texans have allowed the 13th most yards to receivers, 110 catches allowed. That's tied 3rd for the most in the league, and 5 touchdowns allowed. So I see all these guys having the opportunity to have a solid performance this Sunday. And like I said, give me Mohamed Sanu as a sneaky start, and maybe a deeper flex league. Okay, next we have the Texans. Obviously, we're starting Deshaun Watson this week. I do think that it's going to be a higher scoring game. I think the tempo will be there for both sides. Look for Deshaun Watson to have over 270, 300 plus passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. The Falcons are the 8th best against the pass in the league, but that was predicated on 2 very strong performances in the first couple weeks. They've lost Keanu Neal. The secondary hasn't been as strong since then. So I do like the Texans this week. Give me Deshaun Watson, 3 passing touchdowns, over 300 passing yards, somewhere in that range. Carlos Hyde, starting him. Duke Johnson, cringeworthy flex or bench guy. Carlos Hyde, getting enough volume there to be a starter. So I think you can be comfortable with him in your lineup this week. No question about that. But with Duke Johnson, they're really inconsistent with his workload. Just haven't been giving him, any volume really, except, last week they did get him back on the field a little bit, got him some usage. So I like that. It provides some upside for this week, some hope that he might be able to give you some value, but you may have some better options on your bench. That's just the facts. If Duke Johnson is an option for you to start this week, you're probably pretty limited, or or you have some guys on buys, or someone's banged up or something like that. So not a high end flex play, low end for me. I'm not leaping to make that play to get him on my lineup, but I can understand if you do. He does still have some upside, just based off of his skill set. Being a third down back, but just haven't been using him. Haven't been giving him enough volume. Hope he starts to go off. I got him in a couple spots actually. Hopkins and Will Fuller, definitely going to start them this week. I think Will Fuller can find pay dirt this week. Hopkins, I think, can have a big game as well. Sitting Stills, sitting Kute. I don't like that Stills is banged up. I think that both of these guys are going to split snaps behind the top two guys. If Stills is healthy, I'd say to roll him out, but he's been banged up. They say he's going to be a game time decision. Bill O'Brien seems very confident that he's going to play. So he'll probably suit up, but I think that they're just going to wind up limiting his workload. These two guys behind the top two guys, and Fuller and Hopkins, are going to split snaps, Stills and Kute. So not really excited about those guys, and I'm not rushing to get any of the tight ends in anytime soon. Just not enough consistency there. Super risky plays in my opinion. Over under in this game is 50. Give me the over. I think we can see a higher scoring game here. I think both sides can set the pace. Everyone's talking about a shootout. So I think the popular play here is to just go with the over. If you're taking the under, I think I think there is some play there. I just don't think that the Falcons defense is strong enough without Neal in the lineup. So we'll see what happens. But I'm taking the over. 50 points. Give me the over there. Next up, we have Ravens at the Steelers. Lamar Jackson, definitely going to be starting him. Steelers are allowing the 15th most passing yards. Steelers secondary has been improving, but Lamar Jackson will run the ball. The Steelers have the 12th most rush yards against. But Lamar Jackson, 10 passing TDs, 2 interceptions, does have a rushing touchdown this season. I do think that the Steelers up front group, the front seven, is going to bring a lot of pressure. They're going to make Lamar Jackson move out of the pocket and improvise, and that may not be so great for the Steelers. I do see Lamar Jackson doing some rushing this week. May have a lower, passing total, but give me 300 total yards, 300 all-purpose yards for Lamar Jackson, 1 passing touchdown and 1 rushing touchdown. I think some of the running backs get it done this week for them. Mark Ingram, start him. Gus Edwards, flex play, or bench. Justice Hill's a bench play. Gus Edwards, just a deeper touchdown dependent type of running back. If you're in some 14-team leagues and you're pretty desperate, I think that both running backs could score a touchdown this week, or Mark Ingram scores 2, one or the other. The Steelers are allowing the 12th most yards against the rushing attack. Ingram should have a big workload based off of that. They will use the run to protect Lamar, because like I said, the Steelers are going to bring a lot of pressure up front early and often. So look for them to use the run as a shield to protect Lamar Miller. Edwards and Hill been really inconsistent so far. Edwards, I think, could find pay dirt this week. He's kind of a lower end dependent touchdown running back, but I like his usage. I think they get him in there and mix him in a healthy amount to the point where he might steal a red zone touch eventually here on Mark Ingram. I could see this being the week, so I think he's a deeper low end touchdown dependent running back. For the receivers here, we have Hollywood Brown, Mark Andrews, Snead, and deeper flexes. I'll start all 3 of those guys. Don't really want any Miles Boykin or Hayden Hurst just yet. Those guys do have a little bit of upside in this offense. They have shown the ability to make some plays with low volume, but I'm not buying their volume right now. If you saw an injury in this receiving group, I think that Boykin or Hurst, their value could go up with one injury. I think they're kind of like an injury away from an increased share of work. But for right now, I'm going to keep them benched despite their potential opportunity to steal a big play here or there. So give me Hollywood Brown, give me all Mark Andrews, give me Willie Snead in deeper formats. You're pretty much just starting Lamar's favorites in Andrews and Brown. He's really shown favoritism to those guys. Like I said, not plugging Hurst or Boykins this week. Both are just touchdown dependent, and they're really low. Steelers, we got Mason Rudolph, starting him, but you have better options, I think. The Ravens defense was really bad last week. They're allowing the 5th most passing yards against to the quarterback position, and have also let up 5 touchdowns. Only has 3 interceptions. Rudolph and the Steelers playing it pretty safe, so they're limiting the threat for Rudolph to really turn the ball over or make mistakes. So look for him to have another efficient week. They're playing at home, so I think that that'll be some plus side for him again. I'm starting Connor this week. I'm starting Samuel. Connor was limited for most of the week, but he did have a full go on Friday practice, so he should be good for Sunday. Samuel, it looks like he's included in the game plan enough to the point where you're just going to continue to roll him out. He has a workload, and the way that they're toting their offense with the Wildcat and these quick tip passes at the line of scrimmage, he should have some value, and he could find pay dirt this week. So start up both of these guys. Benny Snell, not really worth consideration. Ravens allowing the 8th fewest yards to the running backs, but have let up 6 touchdowns. So I do see some benefit or upside for both of these running backs once they do get into the red zone. For the receivers here, we have Juju Smith-Schuster, James Washington, Deontay Johnson. Not starting James Washington. You can flex out Deontay Johnson, and you can start Juju Smith-Schuster still. Not starting the tight ends, Vanette or McDonald. Vanette pretty much still playing the same role he did in Seattle. A couple of catches, came up clutch on a couple of plays, but not really included with any sort of volume. Deontay Johnson has some upside in the fact that, he's just explosive down the field. Mason Rudolph only took 2 shots down the field in this past game. He was like 1 for 2 for 43 yards and that touchdown. So he was able to find Deontay Johnson downfield. That was nice, but he's not taking a lot of deep shots in general, so that does limit their opportunity. But Deontay Johnson, Juju, guys that can catch the ball around the line of scrimmage, that can kind of work into that Wildcat system, reverse end around, stuff like that. I could see them getting mixed in with those plays as well. We predominantly just saw Jalen Samuel and Connor getting mixed in with those plays with the Wildcat, taking direct snaps, tipping it to one of the other guys. They didn't really use the receivers too much in that scheme, so you could see some of that this week. If they're not, I kind of see both of them, Johnson and Juju, being in that like 5 to 7 catches, 80 yards, and maybe hit a touchdown for one of them. I don't think both of them. 44 points is the over-under for this game. Give me the over. I think that this is kind of a lower number. I think the Steelers can still score a few touchdowns and a few field goals, but I do think the Ravens come in and take an upset, or not an upset, but just win on the road. 27-24 victory, 24-21. I think we can get the over here. 44 points I think is just a little too low for these guys. Like I said, I think the Steelers can still score a few touchdowns here, a few field goals. So let's see what we get here next. Bills at Titans. Kind of a slower, boring type of game. We got for the Bills, Matt Barkley, not starting him. Josh Allen gave it a go at Friday practice, so maybe he plays. I don't know. I hope that he doesn't. I think that he should rest. The dude got knocked out cold last week. Just flirting with disaster there with the Bill season, Josh Allen. Take a rest, bro. I get it. You want to come out. Matt Barkley is no opponent for the Titans whatsoever. I think he'll get rolled there. The Titans, middle of the road as far as the pass protection, 15th fewest yards allowed, allowing 6 passing touchdowns, but do have 4 interceptions. So give me a Matt Barkley interception, or maybe 2. No, thank you. No Matt Barkley for me this week. Really fading their options if Josh Allen isn't on the field. You can follow Allen's status into Sunday. I don't really know if I want to start him regardless. I actually dropped him in a few leagues because he, just was in concussion protocol going to the bye this week. You might be able to scoop him back up after the bye if you still want him. How the Bills are looking at that time, how they look after this week. You may not like their upside if they get rolled here in Tennessee. No Matt Barkley. Onto the running backs here. We got Frank Gore, Devin Singletary, and TJ Yeldon. Give me Frank Gore. Give me Devin Singletary. Singletary is kind of a riskier flex. He has been limited on the practice field this week, but he's been limited every day, so he's slowly but surely getting back healthy. I think that he could still have a limited workload, but I think that the Bills will need somebody to help Barkley out at the line of scrimmage, and I think he could be that guy. So I'm saying he's a risky flex start. They may give him the full clear go-ahead on Sunday, completely remove him from the injury report. We'll see. The Titans are allowing the 14th fewest yards to the running back position. I do see this as more of a slow it out, grind it out type of game. I know I said the same thing about Thursday Night Football too. What are you going to do? John Brown, going to bench him. Cole Beasley, going to flex him out. Dawson Knox, going to start him. Only starting Dawson Knox out of availability. He's the healthiest tight end there, so he's getting a lot of playing time. Cole Beasley still had a role last week when they were getting Rick rolled by the Patriots, so I like him still this week. John Brown, I think, will get concentrated a lot by the defensive front from the Titans. I think they're going to try to eliminate him from the game plan. The Titans allowing 15th fewest yards to the wide receiver position, the pass catchers, some value there, but I don't trust Barkley, like I said. Knox was showing some value, middle of the road tight end position start. Not sexy, but I don't hate it either. So I think that he can be fired up this week. And like I said, Brown's getting locked out, not starting him. For the Titans, I got Mariota, benching him this week. Bills' defense was all over Tom Brady last week. I don't know why anyone would be rushing to start Mariota this week based off of that performance they had last week. They are playing at home. That is some upside for him, but I still think the Bills' defense is just too good. If Tom Brady's not getting it done, I'm not trusting Mariota. Sorry. And the Bills' defense has more interceptions. They've allowed touchdowns. 5 interceptions, only 3 passing touchdowns allowed. I don't like the C's for Mariota this week. They're going to be rough. Derrick Henry, starting him. I think he has some value. Deion Lewis, not starting him. Bills allowing the 8th fewest yards against, but they're allowing right around like 4 yards per carry, so right around Derrick Henry territory. I like to see that. Derrick Henry will have to be used a lot. Bills have only allowed 3 rushing touchdowns, but I think they can get exposed this week with a really strong, hard-hitting power runner in Henry. Lewis hasn't had a real workload so far, so I'm not, don't have any upside to plug him in. Not rushing to get him to my lineup or let alone own him. He's pretty much waiver fodder. For these wide receivers, we got Corey Davis, AJ Brown, Humphreys, and then you got Delanie Walker. Delanie Walker is a cringe starter this week. He's been kind of banged up. The defense for the Bills is there, but I think Delanie Walker is just the most comfortable option for Mariota, so I do see him having some value. I want him in my lineup. Humphreys I'm benching. A.J. Brown I'm flexing. Corey Davis I'm benching. Really just the inconsistency of Corey Davis, the strong secondary out of the Bills. That really all just ties together. A.J. Brown has shown that he can do a lot with a limited workload, right? He can take a ball deep for you off the line of scrimmage, with a screen or whatever. Has some explosiveness for the yards after catch. So I like his upside more. Adam Humphreys not showing enough for me. Not doing anything after he catches the ball. No yards after catch there. So not really an exciting play. Could get some volume in the pass catching game, but every time I want to start him, he's not going to go off for me. So hey, maybe it's the week to plug him. I don't want him in. Maybe it's the week to plug him in, but I don't like him. I'm saying keep him on my bench. Over under in this game is 38. Give me the under. I think both defenses are going to lock out all the big plays. We're not going to see a ton of big action in the air. So look for, again, more of a slower, grinded out type of game. Hopefully not mirroring my Thursday night football pick of a slower, grinded out type of game. Bears at Oakland in England. Bears at Oakland in England. Tottenham. I think that's the name of the place. I don't know. Whatever. Chase Daniels, gonna bench him. Not really excited, despite Oakland giving up a lot of yards to passers, 7th most in the NFL. Not really excited about Daniels. There is some travel involved in this game. I think they're going to be playing in the evening. Not really sure what the time difference is for them or how it's going to go, but not really interested too much in this game on the Bears side of things. Chase Daniels, yeah, he's efficient, but there's just not a ton of like big play upside there. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, maybe 225 passing yards. I think that the running backs will get it done more consistently in this game, or will have more usage. Give me David Montgomery. Give me Tariq Cohen. I think that could be the 1 touchdown or of the 2 touchdowns he could potentially throw. I don't see Daniels going over that number or over 2 passing touchdowns. So just a really limited upside, thinking that Montgomery and Cohen are going to get it done. Montgomery should have a good week. The Bears just need to really feed him the ball, and I think they can do so. Raiders are giving up the 18th fewest yards to the running back position, but I think that the Bears can really slow this one down, play keep away with the ball, and really lock out the Raiders on the road, because the defense for the Bears is going to be playing some offense. They're going to be keeping the Raiders off the field. So I think the Bears will get a lot of opportunities this week in the offense. So I think because of that, they're not going to pass a lot. They're just going to run a lot. Give me David Montgomery. Give me Tariq Cohen. Tariq Cohen, I think, has more value actually with Chase Daniels in the lineup rather than Mitch Trubisky. I think Daniels just gets the ball to him a lot cleaner. And Trubisky, to be honest, I was at a Monday Night Football game. I'm just watching him ignore Tariq Cohen wide open underneath. So, Trubisky, has had the opportunities to really just plug and hit guys wide open underneath. Mike Davis, Tariq Cohen, Taylor Gabriel, and a lot of times he's not doing it. Like he's hitting off to the tight ends who can't get any yards after catch, or he's trying to roll out and make extend a play or something like that. That's what happened when he got hurt. So I like Daniels' upside a little bit more with Cohen and the running backs in general because I just think it gives them more of a running identity rather than trying to get more sneaky and more gadgetry into your play with Trubisky. I just think that they're just a cleaner power running type of team with Daniels at the helm. For the wide receivers, Robinson, going to start him. Gabriel is out. Wims, I think you could actually flex. I think he could be the benefactor of one of those touchdowns. Like I said, if Daniels is throwing 2, give me a Wims touchdown and give me a Cohen touchdown. I think Wims is a sneaky start with Gabriel out this week. And I'm benching both Burton and Shaheen. Robinson and Wims, not popular starts in my eyes this week, again, with the limited upside with Daniels. But do have upside just based off of the secondary. Again, Raiders allowing the 7th most yards to pass catchers. Bears defense is going to pause the game flow for the Raiders, going to keep the Bears offense on the field a lot. So the receivers for the Bears, if they're going to do damage, I look for it to happen in the first half. And in the second half, I think the Bears are just going to run a lot. I think they're going to lock the Raiders out, and they're just going to run away with the game. Just park the bus in the third and fourth quarter, maybe late, maybe early fourth quarter, whatever. And really just be a slower, grinded out type of game. I don't think we're going to see a shootout in England. Oakland, you got Derek Carr, benching him. Bears defense too good, too strong, bringing way too much pressure. Bears 13th fewest yards allowed to the QB position, benching all the running backs here as well. Jacobs, Richard, Washington. The Bears have only allowed 1 rushing touchdown so far this year, 246 yards on the ground. If they had used Jacobs more in the passing game in weeks prior, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable starting him. But I'm not starting him this week. They're not passing him the ball enough. They're still using Richard and Washington in those roles. And really kind of protecting Jacobs is what it seems like. They're just letting him, break it down in between the tackles. So not starting any of those guys, benching all the running backs here. For the receivers, you got Williams and Waller. I'm starting both of those guys just based on the fact that teams have shown that they can damage the Bears defense in the pass game, some quick hitting passing plays. And Williams and Waller have just been really comfortable with Carr this week. The reason I'm not starting Carr is because I think that he's going to throw a couple interceptions, and maybe even put the ball on the ground once or twice. With these guys, they're not going to turn the ball over. You could see a fumble, but even if they do, I think their volume and their necessity to have to actually make quick plays when they're either down or they're trying to push for a run at the end of the game, I think that there will still be enough volume to start these guys. The Bears aren't allowing great numbers to the tight end position, so look for Waller to still be limited. But again, he's a really fast tight end, has a lot of comfort with Carr, so I look for that connection to kind of keep rolling here. Over under 40 points. Give me the under. Bears D is going to dominate once more. Bears 17, Oakland 10. Just don't think that there's enough opportunity for Oakland. Bears are going to lock them out. Okay, next up we have the Jags at Carolina. This is kind of like my pseudo game of the week. I'm really excited to see Minshew and Allen play each other. I have both of them on a team, I think even on separate teams as well. Really excited about the legend that is Gardner Minshew. Had some really strong performances, been really aggressive with his play, not afraid to take shots downfield. Last 2 weeks, I think people weren't expecting what they got out of him. The play against Denver, 19 for 33, 213 yards. Play against Tennessee, 20 for 30, 204 yards. 2 touchdowns in those games, no interceptions. Hasn't thrown an interception since week 1. I do think that I want to bench him this week. The Carolina defense is just really, really good. They have shown some real resolve. Second fewest yards allowed to the quarterback so far. Only 4 TDs allowed in the air. Only 90 catches allowed. That's like 15th best in the league. It's middle of the road. So there is some opportunity there for him. I think that he could have a similar stat line from these past couple of weeks, like 200, 225 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. I want to get him in there, but I just can't do it. The Carolina defense just really worries me, really concerns me. Obviously, you got Luke Kuechly there up the middle. I think that is probably going to start to provide some pressure on him. Fournette, I think, will protect Minshew this week. I think that he's going to have a pretty good week. The Panthers have allowed the 10th most yards on the ground, so I think that Fournette, could get things rolling. Maybe get Minshew into the red zone for a nice little layup pass, across the middle into the corner. I don't know. I want to start him, but I can't. Just keep going back to it. Just keep staring at the screen. I want to make the play, but I can't. Drive me nuts. All right, starting Fournette, not starting Minshew, not starting any of the wide receivers here. Again, the Panthers' play on defense has just been really, really strong. They have 4 interceptions and 4 TDs allowed, so like dead split even there between the two. Just really strong. They're playing at home. I don't really want to buy into it. I'm not betting on against them this week. On Carolina side of things, give me Kyle Allen. Want to start him. The Jacksonville secondary has given up 1,067 yards in the first 4 games, 6 passing touchdowns allowed, only 1 interception. Jalen Ramsey out again this week. Not sure if he's going to be back for them this season. They're saying back issue. I'm saying bullshit. I mean, he doesn't want to play for them. He's going to keep coming up with excuses. I'm not really sure of any severity there. Obviously, you're not going to want to, highlight a huge injury about yourself if you're trying to get traded, right? So I'm not buying into any of it. But he's not playing this week, so give me Kyle Allen, 300 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. I think his value is really tied into CMC, and that's why I like him a lot. CMC not going to be able to do a ton up the middle. Of course, you're starting him. I'm not, do I really need to say it? CMC, you're starting him. Jags are a top 10 defensive against the rush. I do think that they're going to lock him out of the middle of the field. I think he's not going to be able to take the dives in the inside zones very deep. So look for him to, hit the outside the numbers quite a bit. And if you're going to be, hitting him outside, no reason to pitch it to him. No reason to, try to run outside. Just, hit him in the flat. Hit him on the go. I think Allen will be passing a lot to CMC this week up against this strong defensive front. DJ Moore, going to be starting him. Curtis Samuel, going to be starting him. Greg Olsen starting. Jarius Wright, not interested. Has shown some value, shown some upside, but just not enough volume for me there. Hopefully Kyle Allen doesn't shit the bed and puts the ball on the ground all day, every day this Sunday. I don't think that'll be the case. I think they'll protect the ball. So for the over-under, 40 points, way too low of an under, guys, or way too low of a number to lay for an under. Give me the over in this game, 47 to 50 points for sure out of this matchup. I still think that the Jaguars still score, a couple of touchdowns. I think Fournette can get one. I still think Minshew can get one. I just see Minshew potentially throwing an interception, maybe only 1 touchdown. Just not as comfortable as I would have been with him, even in the past few weeks. The Tennessee matchup and the Denver matchup, I would have been still more comfortable starting him. But Carolina this week just shown that they're just really, really strong. Minshew, 7 touchdowns, only 1 interception. I really want to start him, but I'm just not doing it. My gut tells me you just got to stay safe here and stay away from the Carolina defense at home this week. So 40 points over under. Give me the over. Way too low of a number there. I think you guys should all go tell your bookie about that one too. Vikings at the Giants. I am starting Kirk Cousins this week. Giants secondary allowing the 9th most yards to the air attack. 8 touchdowns allowed so far, but do have 5 interceptions. So that really just shows that everyone's throwing on them a lot. Their defense up the middle is okay, not great. What is it here? 15th most yards allowed to the running back position. So right in the middle of the field as far as the rush attack goes. Look for Cousins to get right with his receivers this week. They're dogging him. Diggs wants to be traded. Thielen's talking about having to pass more over the rush. Can't just run it every play. So he needs to get right game with his receivers. I think he's going to feed them a lot. I don't think I need to say that you're starting Dalvin Cook this week. He scored a touchdown every week. I think he scores a touchdown again this week, whether it's rushing or receiving. I just think he has a big game. The Giants defense is not impressive against the rush. They're not impressive against the pass. So look for all these guys, Cook, Diggs, Thielen, to have a big day. Hopefully Irv Smith and Rudolph don't go stealing our touchdowns. We want our big hitters to eat this week in Minnesota. I think everyone wants get-right games for these receivers, Diggs, Thielen, and of course Cook owners. We want to see him continue to roll. So you other guys, not starting any of them just because I want these. I'm really just putting it into the universe. I'm just asking the universe to, hey, get the Vikings right, get these big players rolling, keep Irv Smith and Kyle Rudolph out of the end zone, please. No Laquan Treadwell either. No sneaking in there, kid. Stay on the sidelines. Yeah, just a clear need to get these guys rolling with Diggs and Thielen. If they're going like this into the next 3 weeks, they're not going to be happy, and they may actually wind up trading Diggs, despite their clear affirmations that they are not. Next up, we have the Giants. Dan Jones. I think he's a kind of meh start. I think it's a pretty good start. The Vikings defense is still pretty sneaky. You got Xavier Rhodes there. That's a pretty strong corner defensive back. Vikings allowing the 10th fewest yards to the quarterback position, but allowing seven passing touchdowns. So I do think that Jones could keep the pace for a higher scoring game. Just needs to protect the ball. He's not taking too many shots down the field, kind of similar to Mason Rudolph, but more efficient in the sense of completions, less passes around the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage for the comparison on Rudolph. So I like him a lot, but he's not taking too many aggressive shots down the field. So yeah, I'd say start him. He's just kind of a middle of the road type of start this week. With Gallman, I think you can still start him. He's been limited this week with a neck injury, but I think he's going to be good to go. Could be the last week that you start him. Saquon Barkley looking really, really good, like he's going to be ready to go very soon. Not really sure what's up with that. If it's just like a straight up misdiagnosis on his doctor's part, or if he's just an alien and he went to Wakanda and he got fixed. I don't know. He just looks amazing for a high ankle sprain for only after a couple of weeks. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. I don't know. So he could be back next week, if not the week after that. So Gallman, starting him while you still can. Again, limited with a neck injury, but still practice on a limited basis all week. The Vikings are 9th in the league against the running attack, but have only allowed one rushing touchdown thus far. I do think that Gallman gets mixed in the passing game. Look for Shepard and Ingram to do the same. Not starting Tate just yet. Darius Slayton, I think you could actually start this week. I think in DFS, he's a sneaky play. Everyone's running to Golden Tate, but I'm not really sure of his workload in his first week back. Hasn't been with the team, so isn't working out with them. Interested to see what he can do, with the limited workload that he's probably going to have. But give me Sterling Shepard, give me Evan Ingram. Like I said, I think that the Vikings are going to push the tempo in this game. So I think it'll be kind of higher scoring. It won't be an even game. I think the Giants will probably play from behind, and they're going to push the tempo for the Giants to, be aggressive and have to, kind of back off the run game and really nail down the pass. Shepard, Ingram, both good starts this week. Shepard a little bit less because he's got Woods on him, but I think that they'll move him around and they'll find some opportunities for him. 43.5, give me the over. It won't be an even game. Giants will play from behind, push game flow for them, and I think they're going to force Dan Jones to pass a lot. Jets at the Eagles. Sam Darnold is out. That is really unfortunate. Luke Falk, get him on the bench. Falk hasn't even thrown a touchdown yet. It's really killing the upside for all these guys. Bell, I think you can start him still. Potentially another 30-touch type of game with Darnold out. You're not going to have a quarterback there that can really cut things up for you. Anderson, benching him. Crowder, benching him. I just think they're going to try to feed Bell a lot. Falk has shown some ability to connect with these guys, but I'm not expecting him to score a touchdown. He hasn't done so. Even if he does, he's only going to throw like 1 touchdown, 2 at the most, I think. And I'm not going to bet on if Anderson or Crowder are going to get one of them. I think he could still throw that 1 touchdown to Bell, and Bell may rush for a touchdown. I think he's the benefactor of Darnold being out this week, if there is such a thing. So benching Anderson, benching Crowder, no tight end starts there, only firing up Bell with Darnold out. Really sucks. I was hoping he was going to be back this week. For the Eagles, Wentz going to start him up. Jets defense hasn't been great. Some lower totals for them, but the Jets offense is just going to shit the bed, and they're going to keep the defense for them on the field all day. And then the Jets defense just isn't disciplined, so they're going to be tired, banged up. They're missing C.J. Mosley, only allowing 4 passing touchdowns so far this season. But I think this could be a spot for Wentz to go off. I think that the running backs are both going to have good days, Howard and Sanders. Jordan Howard on my must-start list. Sanders, I think, is a flex play. I think that he could have a role in catching some passes out of the backfield, but I think Howard will finish in the red zone. I think he could have 1 to 2 touchdowns this week. I think he's a must-start, and he's just a hot play right now. He's their hot hand. He's who they've been using more consistently, out-snapping Sanders, out-producing him, and just getting more of a workload. So I like Jordan Howard this week. Sanders, I think, is an okay flex play. And yeah, like I said, fire up Carson Wentz. I think he's in a spot to go off this week. Starting Alshon Jeffrey, flexing out Nelson Aguilar. No Hollins for me. Starting Zach Ertz, and Deshaun Jackson is out. So Alshon Jeffrey's on my must-start list this week. Zach Ertz, I think, obviously, must start every week, right? Hopefully they can get Zach Ertz rolling here. He hasn't been, very strong for them. He had one game where he had 16 targets, but he didn't even have a touchdown that game. So really disappointing. If you put early draft stock in on him, sorry, that sucks. Kind of a similar situation to Kittle, but again, you're not moving away from those guys. They're must starts every week, in my opinion. Nelson Aguilar is going to have a better week this week. Jets defense, like I said, undisciplined, allowing a lot of big plays. What is 7.6 yards per pass attempt. So there's a lot of big play opportunity, I think, for Jeffrey and Ertz this week, and give me Nelson Aguilar for even a touchdown this week. I think Wentz could go off for a touchdown. Spreading one out for each of these guys, or potentially, one of them getting 2 touchdowns. Over-under in this game is 43. I like the under here. I think the Eagles, like I said, will score 3 or 4 touchdowns, but just 1 touchdown for the Jets. I don't think they're going to do anything to help move that number along. So yeah, give me the under there, 43 points. If it was in the 30s, I might be more inclined to get on that number, but nothing that I'm liking there. Pats at the Redskins. Of course, you're starting Tom Brady. Could be another matchup where Bill just runs up the score, similar to the week against the Dolphins. And hey, you got Colt McCoy coming in for the Redskins. Something different, right? Maybe he gets the offense rolling. Maybe they are really great in the first half, like they have been against some teams, and they score some points and they really help to the total. At least against the Dolphins. Maybe the Dolphins game did hit the total, or hit the over, because the defense did score a lot. But I think that Colt McCoy could keep things rolling for the Redskins. He does have some RPO upside in the run-pass option. So I think he's on a sneaky start this week. I don't want to start him against this defense, but I think that he could do enough to get a touchdown, maybe even 2 for the Redskins, and just get their total up. So it pushes the game flow a little bit. So maybe we get a little bit more out of our Patriots. That's all. That's hoping. Come on, Redskins. Let's help us out here. Sony Michel, James White. Just going to start both of those guys, not starting Burkhead this week. Limited last week, didn't do a lot. Limited again this week. Not expecting a ton for him, and they don't really have to ask him to do a whole lot. This matchup is pretty good, or is good enough, where Michel and White, I think, can just manage the workload to themselves. Maybe we see Brandon Bolden get snuck in there. Obviously, we're not starting him, but maybe he sneaks in and steals a touchdown. I hope not, but we'll see. It's another one of those weird matchups where the Patriots could have this thing wrapped up by middle of the second quarter. So we'll see what happens there. Starting Michel, starting White, not starting Burkhead. The receivers, give me pretty much everything you got. Gordon, Edelman, Dorsett, Ben Watson. If you're really hurting at tight end, he's back. He's familiar with Tom Brady. He's played with him, for a couple of years in the past. So, I could see Ben Watson, scoring a touchdown. I could see it, only 2 catches, 15 yards and a touchdown. I could see it happening, but I don't want that. I'm not going to plug him in my lineup hoping that that's going to happen, but he is back. He is available. If you're hunting for a tight end streamer, definitely an option you can go for sure. That offense just renders a lot of upside, and they need a guy that can finish for them at the tight end position. So he could come onto the scene and just be that guy. Obviously, the age is there, but has experience with Belichick, has experience with Brady, plays pretty much on these teams that are just going to be contenders every year. So he has some upside going forward, but not starting him here this week. Okay, so over under 42 points for the Patriots and the Redskins. Give me over 42 points. I think that Tom and company do the damn thing, score over 30 points like they've been doing. I think the Redskins can do enough to hit this total. I think that 42 is just way too low a total for the Patriots. So give me the over there. I think that's easy money. Go tell your bookie about it too. So next up, we got the Bucks at the Saints. Give me Jameis Winston this week. Start him up. Saints are allowing the 10th most yards to the quarterback position. Have let up 6 passing touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Big disadvantages. They're playing on the road, but they're playing a division rival, so I do see some upside there. Saints are allowing the 7th most yards per attempt. So look at Winston to take some deep shots. Peyton Barber, I think that you can flex out. Ronald Jones, I think you can start. Rojo is the hot hand right now, going to get used in the passing game still. Saints allowing the 14th most yards to the running back position. 6 rushing touchdowns allowed so far. So I think that renders some upside for Barber this week. Probably 8 to 12 touches, but I think that he does finish on a goal line touch. So give me a touchdown for Barber this week. And I think Rojo can get anywhere in like the 60 to 80 yard range, handful of catches. And Might be lucky and find pay dirt. For the wide receivers here, you have Evans, Godwin, Howard. Going to start all of them. Godwin taking off the final injury report. Howard, I'm saying, is going to score a touchdown, maybe even 2 this week. I think it's a get-right matchup for him, and they really just need to get him going. Also, pairing in with that, I think that the defensive side for the Saints could really just target in on Evans and Godwin. So I do look at that as a reality. Eventually, some defensive backs or secondaries really have to start over-respecting them and demanding, essentially Winston to throw underneath and to hit guys that aren't going to have any upside for yards after catch and, kind of choke them out in that sense, really limit their ability to put the ball down the field. So give me all these guys. Benching Brait, know that he had a touchdown last week, but too volatile of a workload for me. So give me OJ Howard this week, Mike Evans, Godwin, and even these running backs. I think that you can start all these guys. The Saints have not been that great on defense. I was expecting them to be a lot stronger on defense this year. Kind of disappointing. So for the Saints, we got Bridgewater. Gonna bench him. Shown some upside, when he's pretty much just passing to Mike Thomas, which is nice. Holds together very nicely for Thomas's value, but Bridgewater hasn't shown the ability to cut it up, spread it out to all of his receivers, and really move the ball down the field. Bucks are allowing the third most yards to the quarterback position, so there's some upside here, and I do think that that's going to render a big week for Mike Thomas. But Teddy Bridgewater not doing enough for me. You could still see him throwing an interception or two in this game. Just not an exciting enough play. Kamara, obviously going to be starting him. Look for him to get used in the passing game quite a bit, as the Bucks are allowing the second fewest rush yards. 4 touchdowns allowed, so I do think that Kamara does finish in the red zone. Probably gets a receiving touchdown. I'm not sure if he actually finishes with a rushing touchdown, but I do think that he gets a receiving touchdown this week. Only comfortable starting Michael Thomas. Again, Bridgewater not showing enough ability to get it to everybody else. Mike Thomas just really benefiting from Breeze being out. Breeze is back at practice, already back there, ready to throw, or his hand is whatever, feeling better. Let me pull it up really quick. I just saw it this morning, actually. Drew Brees out. Oh, they didn't even put it in his player notes. Maybe I just saw it on Twitter. But anyways, he was back at practice on a limited ability, so he should be back more sooner than we think. But regardless, Mike Thomas, the one that's benefiting, at least in the stat department. I think that Mike Thomas will have a big week. Not starting Bridgewater. Over under here, 45.5 points. Give me the over. I think the Bucks upset on the road. Give me a 28-27 game. Give me a 2 touchdowns for Bridgewater and 2 interceptions. Yeah. Give me 1 Mike Thomas touchdown, 1 passing touchdown to Kamara, 2 interceptions. Just came to me. Just came to me. Go with it. Run with it. I don't know. Still not starting him, though. Not enough there for me. Broncos and Chargers. Next up, sorry. Flacco, going to be benching him. Numbers aren't there. Would like to get him in my lineup, but the ceiling isn't there. The upside isn't there. Chargers are giving up 12th fewest yards to the quarterback position. I think it's more of a big week for the running backs. So I'm starting Lindsey. I'm starting Freeman. Both have roles in the offense. Denver just seems committed to the run. Chargers 13th fewest yards allowed to the running backs. Only allowed 2 TDs thus far. I do see that they're going to get exposed this week by these running backs, just because the Broncos kind of use them as like an ice and fire type of combination, hitting Lindsey on the outside, letting Freeman break it down up the middle, Lindsey as well up the middle. So I look for them to run all over the Chargers this week. Starting Sutton, starting Sanders, if not traded. Emmanuel Sanders starting to cook up some trade talks here. Might be moving him maybe to the Patriots, Packers, Cowboys. Not sure. Just caught it on Twitter last night. Not sure where that's at. But I like these Broncos players this week on the road in Denver. Just not going to be rushing to start Flacco. Still a mistake-oriented type of quarterback playing on the road up against the Chargers that have shown some respect in the secondary. Been doing pretty well, actually. Flacco's shown some comfortability with Sutton, so I like Sutton's upside. Sanders has been really consistent so far this year. And even Noah Fant, I think you can start this week. I think he's a sneaky start up against the Chargers this week. Had a touchdown last week. I think he could do the same again. Just don't trust Flacco enough to get him in my lineups. Not really a sexy pick. I understand ripping the name off the back and getting guys out there just based on their play, but it just hasn't really done enough for me. Not exciting. Chargers, we got Phillip Rivers, going to be starting him. Broncos still yet to have an interception on the year. 5 touchdowns allowed, 800 yards against in the pass. I like the upside for Rivers in this game. Maybe he does throw the first interception to the Broncos this year, but I do look for them to lean on the run with Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler. I like Eckler more, been very clear about that. Gordon will have a workload this week, could find pay dirt. I just like Eckler more because he's been the guy that's there, that's been doing it, and really just propelling the team to a better position. Helping them win games week in and week out. And I don't think they're going to go away from him anytime soon. As I've mentioned, they're going to manage Gordon's workload. Probably a 60-40 type of split. I still think for Eckler leading the way there. For Allen, starting him, Mike Williams says he's going to play. Travis Benjamin, iffy. He's questionable. I'm benching both of those guys, and Williams and Benjamin. Could be a Jeremy Davis and Audrey Payton type of week. I'm not really sure. They've got weapons all over the field. They did lose Inman, but they have some depth. They got that Tremaine Pope character. He scored a touchdown last week. Could see him get in there, not starting him. But this game is pretty much a coin flip for me. The over-under is at 44.5. I'm taking the over here. Still a coin flip there. I'm not really sure which way it's going to go. I like the Broncos. I think they're better than what their record shows. But just not a ton of confidence in Flacco this week. He's been playing well enough to get his weapons, fantasy relevant, to give them some good performances. But total coin flip game. Not really sure who takes this one. I'm saying the over 44.5, but I'm not really confident in that pick either. I would stay away from that pick. Give me the over, gun to my head. But I really don't like this matchup as far as win-loss, hitting the overs, and stuff like that. Just like the fantasy options that are available. Wish there were more options on the Chargers side of things, healthier receivers. Would like to get Williams in this matchup, but not comfortable enough. He says he's good to go, but I'm not going to be plugging him in my lineup. Next up, we have the Packers at the Cowboys. We're going to be starting Aaron Rodgers for sure. Could get leaned on this week with Jamal Williams out. With Williams out last week, we saw Rodgers throw like over 50 times, 53 attempts. So I do hope that that's the case this week. I hope that he throws over 45 times and he just renders a lot of upside to his receivers and himself. I think that he'll have a good week, especially anticipating that type of passing volume. Aaron Jones, a must start this week. Cowboys are a top 10 rush defense, but I do see there being solid value for Aaron Jones, being that Jamal Williams is out. I don't think that they're going to use Dexter Williams as much as they use Jamal Williams. So I look for like more of a 70-30 type of split, whereas in weeks past, we've seen more of like a 60-40, 50-50 split for Jones and Jamal Williams. Look for Jones to play more this week, even get involved in the pass catching game. Devontae Adams, he's out. Geronimo Allison, got to start him, got to start MVS, and got to start Jimmy Graham. With Devontae Adams out, there's going to be a lot of volume to spread out. He is a big hitter for them. Had a huge first half last week up against the Eagles and then was just buried from his injury. But regardless, there's going to be a lot of passing opportunities for Allison, MVS, and Graham. Out of the three, I like Allison the most, followed by Graham, followed by MVS. I like them in that order. So get Allison out there, still going to be coming out of the slot. I look for Rodgers to hit him a lot in the middle of the field. I think Jimmy Graham can score a touchdown this week. He had 9 targets last week with Adams going out after the first. So look for his volume to stay consistent. Could see him and Allison both hit anywhere from 7 to 10 targets. MVS, I think, is going to get shadowed a little bit more, but I think he's a must start this week still just based off of the volume here. I do think Rodgers is going to throw over 45 times, and this is going to be more of a higher scoring game. So I'm definitely betting on the over here too. The Cowboys, Dak, going to be starting him off to an MVP type of start, really protecting his team the first 4 weeks here. Been playing at a high level minus the last week in New Orleans. I did say bench Dan Jones for him. Dan Jones had more fantasy points. It happened. It was real. I'm just saying. I think that this is not going to be the same thing this week. I think Dak puts up a much better performance. He has Michael Gallup coming back. He had great performances with Michael Gallup. They have a very strong connection. So I look for the passing offense to propel once again with Michael Gallup back in the lineup, even if he is on a limited basis. Again, game flow should predicate for a high-scoring game. So give me 2 passing touchdowns and maybe even a rushing touchdown for Dak this week. Obviously, you're starting Zeke, must start every week. Should have over 100 all-purpose yards this week. Scores a touchdown. You're plugging him in. You're not worried about his value whatsoever. Cooper, Gallup, Cobb, starting all of them. Amari Cooper will have just a regular week where he does great things. Scores a touchdown, has 5 to 7 catches. anywhere from like 60 to 80 pass catching yards. I think he'll have a good week. Michael Gallup, I think he'll score a touchdown. Maybe he doesn't score a touchdown because I think Cooper and Cobb score the passing touchdowns. Maybe Gallup doesn't score a touchdown, but I do think he cleans up underneath. Give me like 5 to 7 catches for 50 to 70 yards. I think that he's just going to be a reliable option for Dak this week. I'm not sure if the workload will be there or the snap count share will be there for him to hit pay dirt. He may get pulled out of the red zone. I think they're still going to limit his workload and protect him this week and fire up a Randall Cobb deep flex start. I don't think he'll have a ton of volume, but I think they get him a touchdown up against the Packers. Cowboys, they fed Witten in his first week back on the field after being a broadcaster. I see Cobb getting a touchdown this week up against his old team. So fire him up. 3 catches, 27 yards, and a touchdown. Not great, but he scores a touchdown. He finds pay dirt this week. So Cooper and Gallup will be heavily involved. Gallup back, ready to go, as I said. Cobb scores a revenge touchdown. Witten, 3 to 4 catches, 30 yards, no touchdown. Over-under in this game, 47 points. Give me the over. It's a high-scoring game. Could be an NFC Championship preview. Next up, we have the Colts at the Chiefs. Jacoby Brissett, fire him up. I need Jacoby Brissett to go off. I benched Russell Wilson for him because Jacoby Brissett's playing the Chiefs. He's got to go off, right? I benched Russell Wilson, short week play. Don't like Thursday Night Football. I had Jacoby Brissett. Starting him up against Kansas City, it's a super flex league. I get Tom Brady's my other quarterback, so I had options, and rolling those 3 guys out is pretty solid every week. But what are you going to do? Hoping Brissett goes off this week. I'm starting him. Been telling people to start him. He's a must start for me. I think he hits over 40 passing attempts. Has had 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, almost 600 passing yards in the past 2 weeks. So I'm letting it ride. Give me some Jacoby Brissett. Get him out there. I need him to score some points this week. I think he can do the same for you guys as well. Marlon Mack, going to start him. Got into full practice on Friday. Same regimen as last week. If the Colts can get up early somehow, defensive touchdown, special teams touchdown, they could really lock out the Chiefs this week. I'm not necessarily betting on that, but that would render the most opportunity for Marlon Mack. I do see him still having a good week. I think he can find pay dirt, 1 to 2 touchdowns. This is going to be a higher scoring game. Does render some opportunity for Nyheim Hines. He does have some upside this week. The game flow could push for more playing time for him, but I'm banking on more Mack this week rather than last, just based off of what we saw last week with Mack getting kind of shut down with the 11-man personnel. I think they'll try to keep him on the field more this week as they weren't able to seal it out last week. I think they'll see the logic in keeping him on the field more, maybe running some more like draw plays, spreading everybody out. Drawing up some space for Marlon Mack and like in a shotgun set or something like that. T.Y. Hilton, got to wait and see on him. Going to be questionable going into the game. I think if he plays, I think you have to start him. I'm starting Zach Pascal regardless. I'm starting Chester Rogers regardless, and I'm starting these tight ends. The matchup is just there up against the Kansas City secondary. They're allowing the most rushing yards to the running back. Teams have to stay aggressive on them, so there's going to be opportunity in the passing game no matter what. I don't have the numbers here for their pass yards against, but it's okay. I really like the pass catchers for the Colts this week. Tight ends, Rodgers, Pascal, Hilton if he's there, Paris Campbell, he's out. So gives a little bit more upside to Pascal and Rodgers. Volume should be there. Chiefs should still be aggressive, pushing the ball down the field. So I like all of the pass catchers for the Colts this week. Give me Mack, Hines in a deeper flex play, and fire up Jacoby Brissett. Let it ride, Jacoby Brissett. More touchdowns, please. More touchdowns, please. All right, next up we got the Chiefs. Mahomes, you're starting him every week in fantasy for like the next 8 years probably, so I don't really need to touch on him. LaShawn McCoy, Dame Williams, starting both of those guys. Dame Williams practice in full all week. Has a questionable tag still, but you're starting him, like I said, practice all week long. No real concern there. Darrell Williams, I think that you can bench him this week. I think that he could still have some touches, like 5 to 7 touches this week. But with Dame Williams back, that's his role, passing the ball or catching the ball out of the backfield, running in the red zone. So I look for all 3 of these guys to touch the ball this week, but only starting McCoy, only starting Dame Williams. Darrell just not going to get mixed in enough for me. Like I said, maybe 5 to 7 touches. Just not enough volume there. Fire up Dame Williams, fire up McCoy. McCoy been a mainstay in the offense. been banged up here and there, but still been able to show that he can battle through the questionable marks and provide for us on Sunday. So fire him up if you can. Mecole Hardman, Watkins, Kelsey, Robinson, starting the whole crew, guys. Starting the whole crew. Should be a favorable matchup for them. Colts defense hasn't been great, and I see both sides looking to push the ball down the field. Okay, so for the Colts and the Chiefs, we have a 56 game total. Give me the over there. I think the Colts and the Chiefs, keep things rolling. I think it's a high-scoring game for sure. Colts are going to be playing pissed off. They're mad about their playoff loss there last time. I think they're going to come in. I think they're going to be prepared. And I think they're going to be aggressive in the passing game. So give me the over here, 56 points. Obviously, Mahomes and company not going down without a fight. Over 56 points for sure. I like the Chiefs pretty much every week hitting the over. Same with the Patriots. A team absolutely every week capable of scoring 30 to 40 points. So give me the over 56 points there. Browns at the 49ers, Monday Night Football. Starting up all the guys for the Browns, Baker, Chubb, OBJ, Jarvis, even Callaway, I think. Kind of breaking this down here, Baker, I'm thinking like 275 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, showing some consistency from last week. The Browns are really protecting the passing game with the run game finally. Nick Chubb having a great game. Think he'll get over 100 all-purpose yards, coming off a 3-touchdown game. Jarvis, OBJ should start both of them as well. Jarvis was in concussion protocol, but he is out. He is good to go. I think Callaway has some play here as well, just because Jarvis could get a limited workload, but I think Jarvis could finish with a touchdown in the red zone this week. I think that Chubb is going to start to get targeted really often and early on and aggressively by the defensive fronts in the red zone. Kind of tough to say you can't stop him, but there's a protocol to shut down everybody. So I think that Jarvis can find pay dirt this week. He hasn't done so just yet. OBJ starting him every week so far in this offense. Callaway could get some touches. I think they'll take some deep shots downfield. I do think that he is live this week, coming back, just because they really need another guy that can stretch open the deep ball in the field. And then RSJ, Ricky Seals-Jones, I think he has enough upside to get in there as a kind of a lower mid-end tight end start. Has shown that he has some value in this offense with the other guys just really creating space, driving off one side of the field while dragging Ricky Seals across the other side. I think there's some value here. I think there's some play for him in their offensive scheme. So fire up all these guys. The only guys I really don't want a piece of is Higgins, but I think all these guys are in play for a higher scoring game on Monday night. 49ers, fire up Jimmy Garoppolo. Like I said, this is going to be a higher scoring game. Not really sure what to expect from the running backs here with Breida, Coleman coming back, Mostert, Wilson potentially inactive if Coleman is back. But I'm firing up Garoppolo. Even if he throws an interception, I think he's going to be forced to throw over 40 times for the first time this year. I think the Browns are going to keep him in check, taking deep shots down the field. But I think Garoppolo is going to have to throw a lot to get the volume and the shorter passing game to move the ball down the field. So I think he's a start this week. Like I said, I think he gets over 40 passing attempts. I'm firing up Breida. I'm firing up Mostert. Not firing up Coleman yet. Still questionable, limited on practice on Friday, pretty much limited all week. I think Breida is going to be the in-between the tackles guy. Mostert is going to be catching the ball in the backfield. And I think they're going to start Coleman and, put him on the field a few times, use him. Nothing's going to happen, and it's going to wind up being a Breida and Mostert type of day, especially if they make Wilson inactive for Coleman. If Wilson plays, then you'll see a mixture of those three, Breida, Mostert, and Wilson, if they're just not feeling Coleman come game time. But I'm thinking Breida and Mostert, I think they're must-starts. I think Mostert is a better start over Breida this week, just based off of the need for more passing. And I'm starting all these receivers. Kittle, Goodwin, Debo, Pettis, give me all of them. I think Kittle has a big week. I think he finds pay dirt once, maybe twice even. So I think he's up for a big week. But Goodwin, Samuel, Pettis, I think there's going to be enough volume there. Like I said, I think Garoppolo is going to have to pass a lot. I think he'll have over 30 completions this week. I think that's a sneaky bet if you want to sneak that in there. Over 30 completions for Garoppolo. Going to have to do a lot of passing to stay in check with this Cleveland Browns offense. Going to be a high-scoring game on Monday Night Football. I know that sounds crazy to say, but it's going to be 46 points. Give me the over there. I like this game. I think it's going to be high scoring, like I said. Like targets on both sides in the receiving game, like both quarterbacks. I think we get a fun Monday night game, guys. All right. Whew. That's it. That's a wrap. That was a long one for my throat. A little raspy after this episode. Not as much as I was over the Monday Night Football week. Whew, was my voice raspy, but really excited about week 5 here, guys. Hope you are as well. If you have any questions, any matchup issues, need to add some guys at the last minute, you're still worried about trades, talk to me. Let's talk it out, guys. Get at me. I'm your wingman, right? Loving a lot of these matchups this week. Really looking forward to that Carolina and Jaguars matchup. If there's a matchup you guys are looking forward to, let me know as well. If you disagree with any of these takes, get at me. Let's go. Let's talk it out. Let's figure it out. Let's see who we need to get into your lineups. This is Take It to the Hizzy, Fantasy Football. I'm Justin Bruni, your host. I'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by. Please like, share, and subscribe. Later, guys.